Good evening, Cheese Room, and welcome to our regular Wednesday night rambles discussing all things Tottenham at this current time. Delighted to have an amazing panel with me tonight, as always, starting with my top right-hand corner, co-host of the Wednesday night show, Gibbo. Gibbo, how are you doing this week? All good?
Yeah, Sal, mate. Couldn't come on Monday because I didn't watch the game on Saturday. I was out with my lad playing football. Well, I wasn't playing, he was. I was watching. So it was nice to have a break, but I'm glad to be back tonight to talk, lots of different stuff like who the next manager is going to be and what's happening with Fabio Paratici. So, yeah. Now looking forward to it, mate. Nice to meet Shivani. Nice to see Steve again. So looking forward to it, mate.
Yes, well, you get to that. So you will know Stevie, regular to the Cheese Room. Amazing guy, top bloke. First time I've been on a pod with Stevie, actually. So pleased to have you on, Stevie. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a while since I've been on, hasn't it? I mean, it's been so long we've actually won in the intervening time. So, maybe I should stay away for a bit longer next time. But good to be back. Good to be back and looking forward to the weekend as well. And tonight.
Yes, tonight's going to be good. And we have, last but no means least, a debut to the Cheese Room on this Wednesday night. Shivani, how are you? And tell us something about you that the Cheese Room would find interesting. We don't know.
All good, thanks. Something you don't know, I'm not sure. Well, I am a singer, songwriter. Don't know if you know that or not. Big Spurs lover since I was a kid, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anything that you don't know? I'm not sure about that.
Rumour has it that you play football. You're at sort of quite good level.
I do. I play for Benfica Ladies. We've got a London affiliation club that's set up here. So I play for them. I played for them for about 5 years now, I think. Club captain for a while. So yeah.
Where'd you play your game, Shivani?
Our home ground is at Rectory Park, Middlesex FA home. That's where we play our home games. But yeah, we play all around London, to be honest. North, south, west, east. Doing okay in our league at the moment.
Who do you play against? What teams do you play against?
Well, we've got Brentford away actually on Sunday, who are a very, very good team. We won the league about 2 years ago, I think it was 2 seasons ago. We won the league double, which was an amazing experience for me personally. So we play against a lot of like London teams. We've got Hackney Ladies as well in our league. It's a pretty big league. It's like semi-professional, so yeah.
And what position do you play?
You asked the question there.
Sorry, mate.
I predominantly play on the right wing, but I can play. I used to play striker, but I can play on the left. I like to play sometimes behind the number 9. So I'm sort of playing like a similar position as like a Son kind of player. So I'm not like the out and out striker, but I like to, create some goals, but also try and score some as well.
Number? What number do you wear?
18, because it's my lucky number. I picked that when I joined the club in the first place. I literally said, I was like, I want number 18. I don't want number 9. I don't want number 10. I don't want number 7. I want number 18.
So here's a question for those listening. Spurs players that have worn the 18 shirt, get in the comments, let us know who you can think of. I've got a couple in my mind. The other thing, a lot of love, Shivani, for your shirt. Backstage, we were discussing Shivani's shirt, and I asked, what player do we think of when you see Shivani's shirt? So Phil in the chat has already made a comment that he's got one with Redbroth on the back. So tell us who you think of when you see that shirt in the chat as well. So let's get into it. Lots to talk about. First things first, let's start with a quick recap of Brighton. Stevie, you was at the game. What was your observations, thoughts, reflections a few days on from the Brighton game?
We were lucky, weren't we? We were very lucky. It was a good game of football. It was entertaining. The sunny goal because we're over in the West Stand. We just had the greatest view. You just saw it go in almost from behind. Stunning goal. Kane's was, I thought, a good Tottenham goal, like a good press, good movement, hit him quickly on the break after getting the ball back. But yeah, we were really lucky. Like we've been robbed by VAR a few times this season and in the past, but we got real lucky on Saturday, and I don't think we deserve to win either. Ignoring the VAR mistakes, but I do feel, and we'll get on to the managers in a bit, but I do feel that if De Zerbi does want the role, probably didn't, do himself any favours with a home crowd or the club.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into De Zerbi, actually. I think it's quite interesting. Shivani, was you at the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Yeah, what did you make to the game performance?
I actually thought we were terrible, to be honest. And yeah, like Stevie just said, I think we were really lucky. Probably didn't even deserve the win, which says a lot about us at the moment. The football is it's so poor. The crowd was toxic. Booing at every opportunity. Me included, I was doing that as well. But yeah, it's just everything at the moment. It just seems like a bit of a shambles. And I think if we had lost that game, obviously, I think the fans would be going even more nuts than they already are. But yeah, just like really poor performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, we knew. I guess we talked about it, didn't we, in the last week's shows about if we don't get a result against Brighton. Gibbo called it early that he said it would turn toxic in the ground. Gibbo, was you surprised hearing the fans' chants for Pochettino, which rung around the South Stand just after Stellini was sent off, and the I would say, to be fair, small chant to Enic out, which also happened just after that. Was you surprised?
No, mate. I said, didn't I? I called it last week. I said, if we don't get a good result against Everton, and the draw really was a crap result because they weren't very good, were they? Do you know what I mean? We blew it at the end. And I said, didn't I, that we played Brighton, and if things weren't going right, the crowd would turn. And obviously, it was at 1-1, wasn't it, when Stellini sort of got sent off and it kicked off, and they'd had a couple of goals disallowed. Like I said, I didn't watch it. I've only seen the highlights. That's why I wasn't on Monday's show. But like, from what I've spoke to people and what I've seen, you could tell it was just, we got out of jail free, really, didn't we? In that game, Brighton play. I said, well, a lot of people said Brighton played us off the park, and I agree with Shivani. I've been saying it for ages. The football Spurs play is dire, and Brighton literally, like, it's night and day. When you watch what they're doing, and then you look at Spurs, you think, how can they do that? And like, we've got some decent players, but it's shocking the football Spurs play. So I'm not surprised. And I think like the singing for Pochettino, obviously, I think it's obviously aimed. A lot of people want Pochettino back, but I think it's just that feeling that, look, we want somebody in charge. We want this sorted out. We want a manager in. We want somebody to come in and take over our team. We don't want just like we don't just want interim managers. But I wasn't surprised at all, mate. And that's probably how it will go for the rest of the season, mate. It'll probably be pretty similar. If results are going against us, that's what will happen all the way to the end now.
What did you join in, Stevie, the Pochettino back chant, or?
I did not. I don't want him back. Like, I think in the short term, I think it'd be great because it'd boost the club, right? Yeah, a lot of people want him back, and I think it could get rid of a lot of the negativity. But I just don't want him back. The players don't want him back. Or the few players that were around and are powerful enough to have a voice, they don't want him back. And I don't think the club really want him back, to be honest. So I think it's a non-starter. I really think it's a non-starter.
What was you singing Pochettino back, Shivani? Are you in for Poch back? Oh, have we lost Shivani? I think we've lost her, haven't we?
Yeah. Mate, I'm not like, obviously, if Pochettino came back in and that was what we were going to do, I'd take it and see where it goes. But I don't really want him back because I don't want. Obviously, it went sour at the end, but I don't want that to happen to him again. I think we need something new. I think we need something. We need a different pair of eyes. We need somebody different to come in. But if it was Poch, you'd have to go with it, and I wouldn't be upset. But yeah, I think I'm with Steve. I'd like to see something different, something new.
Yeah, I asked you, Shivani. I think you just froze, but
I think I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or whatever it is, but I lost
That's
you guys.
right. That's all right. Don't worry. I just asked you whether you joined in the Poch chant or not. Are you Poch in
No,
or Poch out?
I didn't join in the chant. I loved Poch, still do. Do think him coming back at some point, I would definitely welcome it. But I don't think now is the right time. And yeah, like you guys just said, it's just I think it would just end up because the club is still in such a mess. I think it would just end up ending on a negative vibe for him again. And I wouldn't want that for him either. But also, I don't believe in singing for another manager before the club can sort itself out first. And yeah, like I said, don't think it's the right time.
Yeah, I agree. Stevie, in the game itself, at 1-1, obviously we had the Rackus kick-off in the dugout. You was close to that, very close to that. What did you? We even got some footage. I think you posted onto our YouTube channel. So go and have a look if you haven't seen it. But what did you make of all that ruckus? What caused it? What happened? Who was involved?
So it started off. I don't even know if this was on TV or not. But it kicked off before the game kicked off. So allegedly, Dezebi said to Stellini that basically when they went to shake hands at the beginning of the game that he's not Conte and he's a caretaker, so he's not the proper manager. And apparently Stellini shot back and said, not the best comeback in the world, something along the lines of, you're only here because Potter went to Chelsea. And for some reason, despite the fact that Dezebi gave it large, he took great offence to that. And there's a bit of biffo, as our Aussie mates would say, right at the beginning of the game. And then what kicked it off, I didn't really see, but I did see that poor old Stellini was stood there with his hands in his pockets, shaking his head, and then get sent off. But my understanding of the rules, correct me if I'm wrong, is the managers have to control their bench, and clearly he didn't. And they were losing their heads, both sides. But I would blame the majority of that on the fourth official, because throughout the game, and Shivani, I know you kind of sit down there as well, like the family's other seats, but I don't know if you saw this, but constantly during the game, Dezebi was coming over like right on the edge of the Tottenham technical area and like pointing at the home bench and shouting and ranting at the fourth official. That should have been stamped out. That's going to piss anybody off. So I think the fourth official lost control of that a bit and then it overheated.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually thought that situation and the subsequent sending off actually probably benefited Spurs more than it did Brighton. What do you agree with that, Gibbo, from what you've seen?
Yeah, well, obviously we went on to win the game, didn't we? So you'd think that, but a team like Brighton, most teams want their coach on the sideline, don't they? And he's a decent guy, but maybe in the end, maybe all that sort of spilled out onto the pitch for him as well. I obviously I didn't watch the game, but they looked like they were the team on top. But it seemed a little bit not child when you listen to what it was all about. Really, it's just something that's been taken out of context. So I don't know why he didn't try and talk to him before the game and try and get it out the way then. But going through the match, sort of pointing and doing all that just seems a little bit sort of petulant to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just how the whole thing felt, and just made himself look a little bit silly from what I've seen. I don't know all the ins and outs, but it just a bit ridiculous. It was just like a great big kerfuffle over nothing. But so, I mean, I don't think either of them will get a touchline ban, will they? But Yeah, just a lot of old nonsense, really.
I don't know. I think they do, don't they? Don't they get a touchdown ban?
I don't
know, mate.
Dare I say it? I hope he does, because Mason. I think Mason's. I don't think he's ready for us, but I think he's a decent manager, decent coach, and he makes substitutions, which is something Conte never really liked to do, unless there are two centre backs when we're a goal down. Got to protect.
Well, we couldn't bring Lucas on, could we, this week?
No, true. So maybe
physically couldn't bring him on.
Or Danjuma came on.
Yeah,
but somebody met Lucas. I was going to say backstage. It feels like a comedy act, doesn't it? Our club at times. Somebody met Lucas outside the changing rooms, didn't they, Craig?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I gave Lucas a big hug. Whispered sweet nothings into his ear. It was a touching moment, I thought. Said goodbyes. Good luck next season in Brazil, and that was the end of it.
Thanked him for Amsterdam, then said, "Off you go."
Yeah.
But off you go.
I said to him, "It's his fault that I don't remember most of that night in Amsterdam. His fault."
Well, sadly, we all walked past Bentancur, didn't we? Because Bentancur was basically stood next to him, but he looks a bit homeless at the moment. Bentancur does. Yeah, he's got a beard and a scruffy hat on, and we all walked past him. Yeah. I didn't even notice. To be fair, I was too het up on Moura, but I thought Shivani, from where I was sitting in the north stand, I think there wasn't much going on in the game itself that got the fans on their feet or give the fans anything to cheer about. But I think with that kerfuffle in the technical area and the sending off, and then Mason stepping up to the front of the technical dugout to lead the team for that final period, it gave, for me anyway, I think it gave the fans something to go at, because the players weren't giving us anything on the pitch. Is that how you saw it from where you were?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I feel sorry for Stellini a little bit, because everyone's going to be harsh towards him, I think, regardless. He's taking on Conte's old tactics, which doesn't make any sense for me, that you would, part ways with your manager, but then keep on his second in charge, who's going to have all the same tactics and things like that. But yeah, I think after he got sent off and Mason was sort of taking charge, and we started to push on a little bit more, I think the crowd just kind of finally got behind the team a little bit more, which was obviously a lot better than how it was for the rest of the game. But yeah, I think, to be honest, I think we all know we got a little bit lucky with that result.
Yeah, very, very lucky. All right, well, that's enough dwelling on Brighton. We got the 3 points. That's all that matters. Yeah, go on, Stevie.
Like what I don't get, and we saw at Everton, there's something just wrong. The players, they panic. There's the times against Brighton when we're slicing a ball clear. Gibbo, with all due respect to your son, mate, your son's making better clearances and better decisions than a lot of our players were against Brighton.
Guaranteed, mate.
They were panic mode. They looked like headless chickens at times. And when you cut it back, we've got an experienced squad. We shouldn't be in that position. I know we've got players who aren't good enough, but we're not in a position where we should be panicking in games like that. We're not in a position where we should go away to Everton, who are at real risk of being relegated and are in an even bigger mess than us, go one up when they're down to 10 men, and sit back and go to panic stations. Like, that shouldn't be what a professional football club does.
Steve,
I don't get it.
Sorry, that's what we've just done for too long. Since Mourinho came in, that's what we do. We retreat.
Yep.
So that's the mindset. That's been the mindset for too long. And we sit back. And then, so when you sit back, you sort of, there's just too much last-ditch tackling and clearances. And that's what we're used to. We're not used to, like those Brighton players, even before De Zerbi came in, they're used to getting on the ball. They're used to knocking it around. They're used to passing and moving, running past players, playing with freedom. Like when we used to play before Mourinho came in, we'd control a game in that situation by keeping hold of the ball and not letting the other team have it. Now we just let them have it, and we're just basically defending for our lives, aren't we? That's why that happens, Steve. That's all to do with coaching and mentality and setup. For me,
I agree. We also had another cure. I think Shivani is the most senior, experienced, highest quality current playing footballer we've ever had on the show.
Yeah.
Can't think of anybody else. We've had a few ex-Spurs players on, so you haven't quite reached a few of their levels yet.
Caller's pretty smoky, isn't he? Apparently,
according to Caller.
Yeah,
Caller
according to
scores a
Caller,
hat
he's
trick
pretty
every game.
smoky.
Oh, well, it's an honour anyway.
Yeah, take it. Just on that Spurs, Stevie, it's a really good point. We have talked about it loads over the last few weeks. What do you think it is? Do you think it's tactical? Do you think it's mental? What do you think? And how quickly, if that's, Gibbo always eloquently describes the fact that we've been playing this way since Mourinho. They're trained into it. It's ingrained into their psyche now to revert into that low block and defend at all costs the minute we score a goal. How quickly can we turn it around and get back to that Tottenham side we love, who dominate possession and are progressive and attack the game?
It's a great question, and I think so. It's a difficult one to answer. And I guess if I could answer it properly, I'd be a Premier League manager, not a Championship level accountant. But it's like any team, isn't it? You've got football's clearly a mental game. We've seen it in Dele Alli, who went from a promising potential. We're talking about him being world class to a player who now probably wouldn't get in any team above the Championship, maybe not even Championship at his current level. Has he lost all his talent overnight? No, he's lost his mental edge. And you can talk about the fact that, he's never the quickest. So, kind of he's lost a bit of pace through injury as well, blah, blah, blah. But clearly football's a mental game. And I think we're lacking some mental fibre. And if you look at the players who have been with us for the longest period of time, I think there's a slightly rotten core. And if you look for the core of a team, I hate to say it, but you've got Lloris, who I know everybody will challenge me, can clearly dial it up and play well for France and win with them. You've got Dier, who just isn't good enough and panics. You've got Hojbjerg, who I know how much you love him, Gibbo, but
yeah, carry on. Yeah,
I'm never quite convinced. And the really tough one is, Kane, I don't think for club nor countries ever turned up for a truly, truly big game. He's generational talent. He's incredible. We're lucky to have him.
He's the anomaly, though, isn't he? In that, Steve. He's the anomaly in that. Like, you can get rid of the rest, but you wouldn't Kane, would you? You'd like some other players to come in the players that you've said. You'd like better players to come in and then drag him along with them.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think we're missing that core.
Yeah, I just want to go back to something you just said, just to make sure I've heard that right. So I think you just said that Kane wanted a generational talent, etc., but never shows up for big games for Spurs or England.
Yep. What are you going to prove me wrong with?
I just think it's an interesting statement. What games hasn't he turned up in? Would you say memorable games for England, big games? Would you not say the World Cup when we got to the final? Did he not show up in that World Cup?
Euros, he got to the final.
Euros.
He scored a lot of penalties. Oh, in the Euros. Did he turn up in the final?
No,
but he turned up he was there in the semi-final.
Agreed. Has he turned up in any finals?
I think that's symptomatic of the team as well. I
was going to say, who has turned up in the finals?
Because Shivani will know this. I was just going to take it over to Shivani because she sat there with us arguing. But when we're talking, when Steve's right, he said about the players and about turning it round. Who were the worst team? One of the worst teams to watch in the Premier League playing football. Shivani, would you say Burnley? Would you say Burnley were a crap team to watch?
Yes.
Now they're brilliant, really good to watch, and that's happened in one pre-season. So, mentality, coaching, and mentality and mindset can be turned around, can't it, Shivani? Because you play a good standard of football as well. So you've probably played under different coaches, and you'll know.
I think if a different coach comes in, they can change your mentality. But I think also if you know that from higher up, there's a certain mentality that isn't going to be changed, and there's a certain way of working that isn't going to be changed, then it doesn't really matter which coach or which manager or whatever comes in, because eventually, after a certain amount of time, you're going to be fed up with the way that things are run at the club. So, but going back to the Kane thing that you guys were saying, you say he hasn't turned up in any big games. Well, I disagree with that. And also, what big game would you play that you wouldn't put him in for? Because, not being funny, but it's like the Champions League final, for example, right? He got started in that game, and a lot of people slated that decision. But then again, if he didn't get started and we'd lost the game, everyone would have said, well, how can you not play your best player? How could you not start him? Blah, blah, blah. He's turned up in some big games. I mean, for example, every North London derby pretty much. He scores in, I think he's the highest goal scorer in the North London derbies. And let's face it, pretty much one of our biggest games of the season is against Arsenal. And he turns up in those games. But yeah, if you look at all the other players, you say he hasn't turned up in any cup finals. Well, look around. Who has? Realistically, what players played well in any cup finals that we've been in, or any England games, who else plays well? Because I can tell you now, a lot of those players don't turn up on a regular basis. So I think all the pressure and all the blame always falls on Kane, just because he's that good that if he doesn't perform at his best in certain fixtures, everyone throws criticism his way. I mean, he literally got his eyes scratched out the other week, and they're still talking about it. They're still talking about it in the media.
That's what comes with being a player of that stature, isn't it? Whether it be from Spurs fans or whether the media, that's the scrutiny you come under when you are at the level he is. Because he is an elite world-class player, probably Spurs' only world-class elite player. And that's unfortunately the scrutiny comes up to. And he's the guy we look to when we need, like when Bale was at his prime, we look to Kane to get us out the shit constantly, don't we? And that's the burden. That is the burden he has to bear for us, because we haven't got anyone else, unfortunately. But it is tough. It's a tough gig. Like, I agree with Steve. What I sort of know where Steve's coming from, but I agree that when we have got to the Champions League final, nobody turned up, really, did they? Probably Harry Winks was one of the best Spurs players that day.
No, don't even.
But he was.
That's really saying something.
Yeah, but
it's disappointing.
Stevie, I get your point. He doesn't perform to the level that we expect him to sometimes in some of those big fixtures. But then again, you wouldn't play those games without him either, would you?
He's just consistently good, isn't he? Sorry, Steve. Yeah. He's consistently top notch, isn't he? More often than not.
I mean, he's world class. There's no doubt about that. And to be clear, I wouldn't get him out of the team at all. But when you've got your entire core and none of them turn up for the big games, we seem to lack, and this is what does my head in. When we saw the documentary, I thought Kane was pretty weak when he was giving his captain's speeches. Lloris sounded much more like a captain. Like, he sounded a lot more inspirational, got the team going, but on the pitch, he doesn't seem to do that. So we're kind of lacking that core of leaders. And you look at most of the successful teams over the years, and they have that really solid core. And you kind of get that sorted. And we've got nobody who really kind of picks the game up. I know kind of Hojbjerg flaps his hands around a bit, and Dier kind of, turns as he does slowly and then argues with Lloris every so often. But we don't really have that core talent in the team who are kind of willing to die for the club and keep turning up.
Kane's captain, but it's by who he is. I don't think it's by leadership qualities.
No, 100%.
I think Lloris probably has got those because he's been captain for France, but he's been playing in a team with some really good players. Hojbjerg was captain for Southampton, but they were sort of lower down the league, and I think he does have those. I think he does have those. I think he does have that about him. But like I keep saying, he gets a lot of stick. Hojbjerg. He's a good player. Nothing more, nothing less. Hojbjerg's a good player, and he does flap his hands. But there's nothing wrong with people on a pitch trying to make other people accountable and trying to G other people up. That's sort of part of it. Whether you and you'll find, and I don't know if Siobhan has had this, but when you play in decent football teams, sometimes the captain isn't the best player. They're not technically the best player. So a lot of time I've played in teams where the captain has sort of been probably technically and skillfully one of the worst players, but he's just got that ability to sort of to drag people along and put his foot in and that's what being a captain's about. And we don't have one of them. We don't have those sorts of players because Dier's not one of them. He makes too many mistakes to do that, and he just, like you said, turns round and sort of and those sorts of players as well, Steve. What you're saying, there's a gang of players who have been there for me too long and have been through this situation too many times, and it's just the norm that this is what happens. So you need to churn those players out, or a chunk of them. Like I said, Kane's the anomaly. He's the elite world-class player. Son, played the right way, is a top quality player. But like your Diers, Davis is a good squad player, but like your Diers and your Lloris and that, maybe now they've just been there that little bit too long and they're used to this happening all the time, and you need to churn them out and bring some new faces and a different impetus and a new mentality in.
That's a great point.
Sorry.
That's a great point by Caller, isn't it? You said everything right. I totally agree with what you said, Gibbo. That's a great point by Caller. And it's a bit like me every time one of my relationship ends. I'm like, is it me? I was like, is it us as a club? Because we've got, when you look at the players we've got, we have so many bloody leaders on an international level, and they come and play for us, and they just seem to lose their backbone.
But you don't think Romero? Sorry, Shivani, I'll ask. Do you see Romero as a leader? I think Romero's a really good player, but he can't be a captain or a leader. He's reckless, isn't he? He's so rash.
He's too selfish, in my opinion. I think he's very selfish. Like, he cares more about his international career.
Yeah.
Than he does. I don't believe he cares that much about the team. I believe that he cares about himself more than anything. And I mean, the proof of that was that stupid challenge that he made where he got himself sent off against Milan.
Yeah.
First of all, if you get a yellow card, you're banned for the next game. He knew that. He gets a yellow card within, I don't even know, it was less than 15 minutes, I think. And then he gets sent off with a stupid challenge. And everyone's like, oh, well, if he doesn't make that challenge, then, they're through on goal, blah, blah, blah. No, you can make the challenge without being an idiot about it. And, I don't see him as a leader. I understand what you're saying, that there's no clear leader, but I never used to think Lloris really showed himself to be a captain until I saw the Amazon documentary. I saw what it was actually like in the changing room. And actually, I was really surprised at what his attitude's like. He's proved he can win things with the national team. He's probably so sick of being surrounded by these losers who don't care about the club, who don't care about winning things. They're just there to make their living and, pass their time by playing a little bit of football. He's probably just surrounded by those kind of people that he's not able to motivate them any more than they already are. I think the problem is not with having a lack of leaders. I think the problem is having a lack of ambitious players playing for our team.
That's a really good point, though, Shivani, about the documentary. And is it possible to judge what the characteristics of a good leader just by what we see on the football pitch for 90 minutes? I think that's such a small part of the overall process of being a club captain is about a team captain isn't it? It's about what you do off the pitch, on the training ground, the role modelling and everything else. And there's so much to what a lot of our senior players do perhaps we don't necessarily see. You can't just judge it on the 90 minutes of a football pitch. And you don't, also in the stands, I think, maybe Stevie Shivani, with your seats you sometimes sit on, you might hear the vocalization of the players more than we do, but you don't hear what's being said necessarily on the football pitch or who's talking the most or whatever, because it's all sort of crowded out through crowd noise, or you can't hear it. But Kane is a phenomenal captain in terms of his ability to role model. He's a captain for England as well. We've got to remember that. There's some big players in the England squad, isn't there? That in theory could be a captain for England, but it's Kane's that captain. He's I don't think it's enough just to say we haven't got enough leaders. We've got loads of leaders. In my
got to be made accountable though. Nobody seems to take there's accountability and all that type of thing.
What does that look like, though, Gibbo? What does that look like to you? What does that look like? What would be you saying?
Maybe I'm a dinosaur, mate, but I look at captains and I look at Keane, Patrick Vieira, those sort people who will like drag players along. People who will sort of like, if things ain't going right, you can see them organising players like a coach on the pitch. When things go tits up for Spurs, it spirals out of control. I don't see that. They're just sort of, sometimes they argue. Maybe those characters don't exist anymore. But when you look through like the league now, then who's Man City's captain at the minute? Kevin De Bruyne. Is he captain for City?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He stands up and he's to be counted. Obviously, they're a better team than us. Liverpool, Jordan Henderson. People will slate Jordan Henderson. But I tell you what, even when he's playing for England, he looks like the bloke who's the captain to me when I'm watching England. He gets around, he rats around, he's pulling other players, he's making other players accountable for what they're doing on the pitch. That's what I see a captain as. Somebody who's vocal, somebody who pulls other players along with them. Like I said, makes them accountable. That's what I see. And like maybe that's because I'm old-fashioned then. But that's what I want to see. I want to see 11 captains out there. I want to see more than just one. But, I don't think there's enough of that at Spurs. And like I think the ambition thing that Shivani says, I don't think there's enough players who are fighting all for the same cause and all want the same thing and are all pulling together. And you always need 2 or 3 who are doing that. Kane will always lead by what he does because he just does it all most of the time, pretty much all the time. But I don't see enough of those characters at Spurs for me.
And you've made a great point, Gibbo. So you get different types of leadership, don't you? In all of our jobs and football, you get different leaders. And one thing I will say about Kane, and we heard this from an ex-player and coach at Spurs, is that Spurs, the first team squad in the lodge, have got a cinema room, and they had a movie evening to kind of relax and build some harmony between the team. Kane in training had missed a couple of goals, which he thought he should have scored. And a couple of coaches were like, where's Kane during movie night? He was out for another 2 or 3 hours on a pitch with a couple of other coaches, and they were just rolling the ball into him, shoot, roll the ball into him, shoot. Because for him, his performance that day hadn't been good enough in training, and probably nobody had even noticed the goals he'd missed. So as a youngster coming through and seeing that dedication and that drive to better yourself, that's one element of great leadership. So I think Kane's a great leader there, but everything's right in the show, what we've said so far, that we're missing, and maybe I'm a bloody dinosaur as well, mate, but we're missing that player to kind of roll their sleeves up and kind of, knock some heads together on the pitch and be like, this is not good enough. And I tell you, if we keep Sarr, and if we keep him progressing, he will be the next proper leader and captain on our pitch, because he's the only player, even at his age, like when they're playing, he's constantly, watch him. If you're on the ground, watch him. Don't watch a ball. And he's constantly shouting at the other players, getting them to move position, telling them where to pass the ball, constantly checking his position. And the kid's, what, 18, 19? Yeah, and he's doing that. The other players aren't. So for him to step into the team and do that, I think that's big time. So I think he'll come through. But other than that, we don't really have any leaders actually on the pitch.
Do we think, and just throwing it out there, anyone in the panel to answer, do we think that the leadership we're not seeing on the pitch is linked to the leadership we're seeing off the pitch?
Go on, Shivani. Give us your answer.
You mean by that? Do you mean by the owners?
Potentially, yeah. I just think there's a lot of chat. I'm not criticising the owners necessarily. I'm just saying there's a lot of chat, particularly, and we'll get onto it.
I could go on days criticising the owners, that's for sure. I think that the lack of ambition on the pitch is a reflection of what's been shown off the pitch, and I think it all comes from the top. And I think Conte was absolutely right in what he said in his interview. Maybe he shouldn't have said it how he said it. I don't know. If people want to think that, that's up to them. In my personal opinion, I actually liked seeing somebody finally come out and speak the truth about this club, speak the truth about our ambition as the owners and the players. I just think there is so much just lack of anything. I think we need to get rid of a lot of these players, all these players who have been here for too long. Like we said before, like players like Dier. I mean, he on the weekend was absolutely terrible. He can barely kick a ball, this guy. And I don't know how he's stolen a living for so long. We need to start showing that real ambition. It has to start from the top. And it's like we said about getting Poch back. What's the point? There's no point in bringing in any manager until we can fix everything else that's wrong with this club right now.
But we've got to, I know, I totally agree, Shivani, but that's not going to happen, is it? Short term. So what you need is, you need the board to, the word is hope, that the board pick the right guy, and a guy who come in and can rise above all that rubbish and get a grip of the club. Because and I'm with you, because that's what I think needs to happen. But I don't think it's going to short term, and I'm talking sort of like 5 years. So we need somebody to come in and like, say, if it was when you see Vincent Kompany, you see a guy who takes ownership of what he's going to do and sort of rise above. Well, you'd like to think can rise above all that and grab the players and get rid of the dead wood and inspire players and sort of get us on that path. Because we're not going to be able to move the board on to do that, are we? Do you agree with me, Tony? It's like if we wait for the board, we'll be waiting forever. I'll never see it.
I'm seeing Kompany coming in. I mean, I would say we'd have to wait till next season now. Anyway, there's no point bringing someone in now.
No, it's not going to happen now.
I wouldn't mind seeing Kompany come in, especially when I saw that video of him having to go at his players in the dressing room and everything. And I'm like, that's exactly what we need.
That's what I call a captain, Shivani. But I know he's a coach there.
Yeah, I know, but the only problem is the players, they might respect whoever comes in for a few months or a year maximum, which is what they did with Conte, what they did with Mourinho, what they did with Poch. After a certain amount of time, they just lose interest and they're just like, whatever. And then they just start playing their usual terrible football with terrible attitude, not caring about results, not caring about the club, not caring about the team. And then that manager gets sacked. And then we go again.
So what happened though, Shivani? So what we need to do, we've got a core of players that keeps happening with. So when Poch came in before and he had a group of players like Cabal and Adebayor who were doing that, and it was like we were up and down, he made that decision. I'm not playing this lot anymore. You're on the back burner, ready to go. And that's what needs to happen now. And if that is Dier, Sanchez, Lloris, whoever, if there's a gang of them and it's like, I need attitudes changed in here, and these are the guys I need going to replace because their attitude stinks of the old guard. I want new players. That's what we need to do. That's what we need the board to step up and do, is back the new manager, not just by giving him players he wants, by getting rid of the shit that's been dragging us down for the past 5 years. That's what we need, isn't it?
That's exactly what we need. But we've been saying for years that, we need the board to back the manager. But when have we ever seen a manager actually be backed? Because I haven't.
I'd argue that Conte was backed.
You think Conte was backed? Do you think Conte got any players he really actually wanted? I don't.
Perisic, I'd say.
Yeah, ironically, the one he wanted most was probably our worst signing.
He might have got one or two that he wanted, but he didn't get backed in the way that he probably wanted to get rid of quite a lot of those players and wanted to bring in a lot of other players. Players that he's going after, as usual, the ones that we're going after, we get some sort of sloppy seconds. I don't think any manager has ever been fully backed by the owners at all.
The trouble, we'll never, ever get to know the extent, because I personally think if Conte thought he was going to get, I can't believe he was told he was going to get lots more than he got. And I can't believe that he actually thought that he would be, as you said, by knowing football, I don't think he's a stupid man. I don't think he'd have come in and gone, right, I've been told I'm going to get X, Y, and Z, and they're going to get them in early doors for me, because history will show you that doesn't happen at Spurs. But I do think they have shelled out on players. Whether they've shelled out on good enough players or the right players,
you can argue that
is more to the point. If you get what I mean, the quality.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is the scouting a bit as well.
Yeah, and here's one I said earlier on. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's a Man City fan. In pre-season, a lot of Tottenham fans were giving it the all. We've won the transfer window, all that nonsense, all that. Yeah, we've won the transfer window, and I said I think Arsenal have done better. People were, what do you mean? I said Arsenal have bought Jesus and Zinchenko and improved their first 11. We believe we've improved our squad with players that aren't really good enough to get in the first team, but that's improved our squad. But what we should have done is improved our first 11 and made those players that they've replaced the squad players. But our first 11 hadn't got any better. Arsenal did it the right way. They bought players to go in that first 11 and make the players that they were replacing squad players and fight for their place. That's what we need to do. I don't think our recruitment's good enough.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and as that's part of the problem. Our players, they don't feel like they need to fight for their place.
No,
they're too comfortable.
Lloris comes straight back in.
Well, yeah, they're too comfortable. They don't need to, if anyone gets an injury or anyone doesn't play well, they don't need to go into training thinking, right, I need to work hard today because I need to earn my place back, because they know that there's not really anyone to
bang on 100%.
I mean, a few people mentioned Bastoni. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Conte wanted Bastoni, but Bastoni didn't want us. So, it's not... You can't buy a player from a club that doesn't want to sell him and a player who doesn't want to come. That's, the sad truth of it. So, we got Longlane said, personally, on the assumption, and I know I can get shot for this and probably will do in 6 months' time, on the assumption we spend money wisely on a centre-back in the summer, I think Longley was a good acquisition or good loan. So he's good enough. He ain't great, but he's good enough to fill the gap. Yeah, and he's got some European experience as well. And I think he plays out from the back all right, actually. But we're not spending a lot of money on him. And I'd rather us do that than spend kind of that, Davo's wonderful 20-30 million on a player and then scupper our ability to buy a better centre-back in the summer.
Was Richarlison a Conte buy? Did Conte want Richarlison, do we think?
Now, this is the interesting bit. I've heard from two reliable people, yes and no. One of them's not reliable.
Awesome.
So I don't know. I know Levy did a negotiation on that one, but I don't know. I don't know whether he's doing it on the back of Conte wanting him, or the back of Paratici wanting him, because we always say what Conte wants. Well, what did Paratici want? Yeah, is technically, I guess, and somebody in HR would know better, Craig. But is still currently the director of football. We're on leave. Yeah, so he's a player. He's a person who should be asking for these players.
Really good point. Shall we? Say again, sorry, Stevie.
Which brings us on nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Stevie. Yeah, what a seamless. It's almost like we planned that. On the Paratici thing. Interesting news in the last day or so. Clearly, we know that he has his Italian appeal hearing on, I think it's a week today, actually, on the 19th of April. News come out yesterday that he's also appealed to FIFA for the extension of the ban to worldwide football. Gibbo, what do you make of Paratici's attempts to appeal the FIFA worldwide ban?
Wow. I mean, obviously, he's claimed he's innocent, so he's going to have a go at doing it, isn't he? But I don't really know. The whole thing's just a horrible, sticky mess, isn't it? And we're and it feels like we're in limbo till it all gets sort of like sorted. So it'd be interesting if is it the 19th of April?
19th.
If it gets upheld, then obviously he gets the bullet, doesn't he? Surely, if they do that.
I think that's why he's appealed to FIFA worldwide ban. Is my guess.
Yes. Well, what I don't want, though, mate, is what if he appeals it and they take it off him on appeal, but he's still up for he's still up for on these charges X amount of time down the line. So we're just still in limbo, aren't we? I mean, for me, if there's any doubt, just fuck him off. Sorry, I couldn't think of any other words. You just get rid. That's how I feel about it. I feel he's like a millstone round our neck.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a minute, Shivani. Stevie, I've not heard your take on the Paratici situation. How does it play out in your mind?
I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think the club played a bit of a fast and loose approach. They would have done ADD kind of as he got signed. People knew there was something dodgy about him, or potentially something dodgy about him, I should say. And I think the club just wanted to extract whatever they could out of him. And I think he's done a half decent job. Our recruitment has improved. Although I say improved slightly oddly, because let's face it, it was a shit show before. So I probably could have improved our recruitment. But I think the club wanted to get out of him what they could, and they've done that. And I think at the moment, everybody's saying sack him. Well, if we sack him, I mean, I'm not an employment lawyer, but if you sack him and then it comes out that he's not guilty, the decision's overturned, well, then the club can get sued. Unfair dismissal, wrongful dismissal.
Yeah, I don't want to get technical on HR speak, but I'm not understanding what's in his contract, but I'm pretty sure we've got reasonable grounds anyway to dismiss. Would be my under any what you call some other substantial reason. Some other substantial reason. But we're not getting to the technicalities of employment law on this call. But it's an interesting one. Shivani, what do you make of it? Do you think Paratici needs to go?
I mean, yes, I do. But it's like you guys just said. I think we're gonna have to wait until he's found guilty so that we can basically have the excuse to let him go. I just think that the whole thing is like you guys said, it's just a mess, but it just represents what our club is at the moment, which is a mess. And it's just like another thing on top of another. But yeah, I think it's more embarrassing that we got him to come out and do that interview after Conte left. And then the next day, that whole announcement was made. And I'm just like, that just sums us up. That honestly just sums up
Nokia.
Like, just have some sense. This whole thing's going on. don't get this guy to come out and speak on behalf of our club. Why can't Daniel Levy get in front of a camera and start speaking about something? It'd be nice to hear from him.
Oh.
I don't see why
he's
hiding. He's always hiding. Funnily enough, he's not been going to the games recently. Like, he's never come out. If he came out and spoke to the fans and said, right, we know that it's a bit of a mess at the moment, but this is our idea going forward, and at least just gave us some sort of reassurance or let us know what kind of direction the club is going to be at least going in. But he doesn't. He doesn't say anything. He gives us no reassurance as fans. All he does is say, okay, your season ticket prices aren't going up next season, by the way. Have a good day. That's it.
Paratici should be sacked just for the fact that he told Levy was stupid enough to believe him, that Nuno played attacking football. Instant dismissal.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable that he will be sacked. But I definitely think there's a lot of dodgy stuff going on there with that whole situation.
And here's one for Davo. That film he did it on Cinecam, didn't he? It was ridiculous. It looked like it was like some just fucking cheap rubbish video. It weren't even like professionally done, was it? It was embarrassment. Pathetic.
Yeah, I did think that was a bit of a shambles, that whole interview. It just felt like it was done in a rush, wasn't it? That's how I got from that. It's like, oh, we need something to come out. Oh, let's roll out Paratici whilst he's in Italy with a Nokia. Weird.
With his Cinecam.
No disrespect to us on this show, but we've got 102 people watching. I hope you'll all hit the like button. And we're getting a few thousand views for our videos, right? We're more professional setup than that bloody video was.
Yeah.
Spurs is what a 4 or 5 billion valuation business. It's obscene. I don't often criticise the club and the owners, but that was truly shambolic.
Mm. Yeah. The thing about hearing from Levy coming out, I mean, he's never, has he? I don't think in the whole time he's been owner at Tottenham ever really come out and done. I can only think of 1 or 2 instances, I think, where he's come out and done an interview. Was that an interview? Yes, it was, wasn't it? Sit down. And that was after the was it after the Pochettino sacking or the Mourinho sacking? Mourinho, wasn't it?
I don't know. Then he either said about our DNA and then he appointed Mourinho or Nuno. So
yeah. It's an interesting one. That brings us on nicely then, following on from that, to the club's announcement this week with the appointment of Steve Munn. Am I right in saying Steve Munn? Have I got that name right? Someone that's come over from work with clubs over in Australia and Asia by the looks of it. Do you think then he's obviously been appointed onto the board with overall responsibility for football matters, which by the looks of it seems to remove Levy again one step further removed from football operations in the club? Gibbo, is that a positive thing for you? Do you see that as a good step?
I haven't got a clue who he is.
HG.
I haven't got a clue who he is, but from what I've heard, and I've listened to various different things and read up on some stuff, he's not a football guy. I think he's he's the type of guy that gets sponsorships. And I said to you the other day, didn't I, Craig? And I can't even remember the words I use now. He's not a footballing guy. He's sort of like he does sponsorship deals and he does all that type of thing. So it's not a footballing. Whether I don't know whether he's going to employ footballing people to do jobs for him, because like if Paratici keeps his job or if we get someone else to do that, they will be reporting to Scott Munn, won't they? Apparently. So I don't know how it'll work out, mate. People say it's a good thing that, like, it just removes Levy a step back. But will he ever step back? Because I think that's part of the problem. And I'm not digging him out, but I don't think he can keep his nose out. He likes to be in. He likes to know what he likes. Obviously, it's his business or whatever. He likes to have his fingers in all the pies, really, doesn't he? I don't think he wants to step back a little bit, but soon as something's not really how he feels it should be, he'll be back in.
Shivani, was you happy to see the appointment of Scott Munn? obviously you're quite critical of Levy.
Yeah, I am. To be honest, I don't really see what difference it's gonna make. If I see a difference going forwards, then I can say, yeah, I'm happy about it. But right now, I'm actually quite indifferent, and I think anything we do right now, isn't really good enough. I think, like I said, it's all about clearing out some of these players, trying to change the direction of the team going forwards. And like I said, I'd like to see Levy come out and actually speak to the fans, but it's like he's now put another person in between him having to do that, him having to communicate with the fans. It's like he's just put another person in place for him to blame if something goes wrong. That's what I mean.
Shivani, the one thing I will say from what I've heard, I think this guy is quite good at dealing with that. I think he is more open to talking and more open to communicating with fans.
Yeah, well, I hope
from what I've heard. Yeah,
I think going forward, so we can see.
So
fingers crossed. Obviously, it might be somebody who can try and give us some sort of information on what's going on with the club. If we can see that going forward, then obviously it's great. But
hopefully,
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Stevie, what do you see? Do you see anything changing practically with Scott Munn coming in?
I mean, who knows, really? I think I know very little about this, and I must admit, this completely caught me by surprise. So I was caught a bit off guard by this, and I don't know much about him at all. I genuinely know very little about him other than kind of general research I'm sure we've all done. But my understanding of how it's going to work is effectively, in layman's speak, he's basically going to be the managing director of the footballing side of the business. Because Spurs, like any other football club, or any other serious football club, does have different sides of their business. They all have it. They all need to have it. So I think he's going to be the managing director of the footballing side. Levy's going to look after, the rest of the football club, the property, the logistics, all the other stuff. We all love talking about property, don't we?
You've just said the trigger word, Stevie.
Davo's currently typing out 800 messages right now in chat. Chat's going to explode. So I think that's a good thing. Time will tell. But from what I've read, what a few sensible people have said, I think it's a good thing. And I think, people have asked Levy to step back from the footballing side. This looks like Levy stepping back from the footballing side.
Yeah.
So it's not what we want.
I mean, I've heard what you've had, Gibbo, about him being a great communicator. Bit disappointed he hasn't accepted my follow request on Twitter yet, though. I'm still waiting for access. But his Twitter account, I don't know if anyone noticed, I think he had like 2,700 followers. He's now at like 3,400. So he's obviously accepting some people in. Just hasn't picked out me, contributed to the cheese room. I don't understand
probably
why.
Probably the bigger shows, mate. We haven't made it big enough time yet.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that we're too Enic out in this chat, aren't we? So
he's not accepted me.
There you
he's
go.
Not accepted, Steve, mate. Then
that's Enic out, is he?
Me?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, Stevie's like so in, isn't he? Is he in? So if Stevie's not in there, then no one's in.
I love all people. I'm a lover. I love all sides of the argument. Even Dave.
Yeah. No, good. Excellent
opinion.
Yeah, no, of course, definitely.
Exactly.
So we know that Mr. Munn doesn't start with us, or we believe he doesn't start with us till the summer. I think it's 1st of June. Looking forward, do we expect, Shivani, do you expect any announcements in regards to the future of Paratici or our next managerial appointment before he starts, or do you think everything's on hold now till then?
I think pretty much everything's going to be on hold until they've made some sort of final decision. I think they're probably waiting till the end of the season. I think everyone's kind of written off this season, and they're probably going to wait until they can actually make that appointment. But the whole Paratici thing, they're probably going to wait until there's actually like a verdict on that as well. I don't think anyone's going to come out and speak to us as fans, to be honest. I think if they were going to, they would have done it by now.
Yeah. What do you think, Gibbo? Everything? Do you think we're on hold, or do you think?
Oh yeah, mate. We'll be treated like mushrooms now, mate. Kept in the dark and fed on shit till the end of the season.
Yeah.
We weren't. You know, I thought like that if we'd have lost on Saturday, I said to you, didn't I? And it really turned even more toxic than it could have. That maybe Levy would have had his hand forced, and he would have done something silly, like really not. I'm not saying going for Poch would be silly, but I think he would have, or like going and point Brendan Rodgers or something stupid like that. I thought he might have done something like that. But I think we'll beat Bournemouth, as I've said. I think we'll do pretty well in all our home games now to the end of the season, and I think we'll go and struggle away from home, and we'll probably finish Europa League unless that week coming up is a massive, like the Newcastle United Liverpool week is massive. But I think we'll beat Bournemouth at home. I think we could beat Man United at home. I think we'll beat Palace at home, and I think we'll beat Brentford. I can't see us winning at Newcastle. We never win at Liverpool ever, so I can't see us winning there. I think Villa will go away to Villa, and they'll be fighting for European football, so they'll have a little bit too much for us, which is sad to say because all my wife's family support Villa and everybody I know, so I fucking hate them. And Leeds, last game of the season, could be fighting for their life. So I think that's how our season will pan out, and we'll have enough just to get a European place. We'll just literally go through them, because this is what happened when we sacked. I know we had less games, but when we sacked Mourinho, didn't we? You know, I think we did all right at home, but away from home, it was just sort of meh, just going through the motions, which I think is pretty much what we'll do till the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Shivani, 24 points up for grabs. How many do you think we get between now and the end of the season?
1? No, I'm joking. I think, I actually agree. I think we'll end up doing okay. I think we'll probably get more points than we think we will, which it always surprises me. As soon as a manager gets sacked, these players seem to somehow learn how to play football again a little bit. But out of 24, I'm going to go with, I don't know, looking at those. I'm looking at the fixtures right now, actually. I think we'll get a couple of wins in there, but I don't think we'll do very well. And a part of me actually, if we're not going to finish in the top 4, I'm not sure I want to finish in the Europa League spot either. So I don't know. But obviously, I want to win as many games as possible. So we'll just have to wait and see.
14 I'm going for.
14
Any
points.
advance on 14?
Not upwards, no.
And
I mean, 14 is quite generous, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really generous.
Well, I think we'll beat Bournemouth.
I think we'll beat Bournemouth.
We'll beat Palace. That's 6.
We'll lose to Newcastle.
Brentford. That's 9.
We'll draw to Man United.
That's 10. I think we could beat Leeds away. 13. And I'm being generous by giving us a point away to Villa.
No. Nonsense, mate. I can guarantee you we will not beat Leeds away. And do you want me to tell you why?
Go on.
Because I'm going to Leeds away. I'm going to Liverpool away. And I've never, ever, ever seen us win away from home.
I think we've beaten Liverpool.
Don't go. Stay home.
Go, Steve. Take one for the team.
Never happens.
I think we've beaten Liverpool in the league something ridiculous like 5 times in 90 years at Anfield. I think our record there of winning is that bad.
I'm sure we've won there once, though.
I think we've won. I think we won there when I think Modric scored. I can remember us winning there when Klinsmann scored, but that was in the FA Cup. I'm talking about in the league. If John's watching, John, have a look. Just get it up on Google. How many times we've beaten Liverpool in the league? Say, in the last. How many years do you reckon? 50? Should we go try 50 years? See if someone can have a look. It's ridiculous, mate. We very, very rarely win there. They are absolute doggo this year. You know, if we had some sort of form, we could go there and try and get a result. But just see us having our pants put 85, 86, 93, 2011.
Yeah, that's I think 2011 is the one I'm thinking of because
was that Modric?
It was one of the times I haven't. I've been to Liverpool away quite a few times, and every time we've either drawn or lost.
Oh, I don't think I could go. I couldn't watch them all sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" and all that crap at the start of the game.
Cringe, but no, I was there with Sissoko over the bar as well, and
oh yeah. That was a chance.
We so against that team, I swear, we have the worst luck.
Steve-O, what? How many points did you predict then, Stevie?
So I think we'll beat Bournemouth. I think we'll draw to United. I think we'll draw to Newcastle. So it's 5. Lose to Liverpool, that's 5. We beat Palace, that's 8. I think we'll beat Villa away. So I don't think I'll have much going on then. So what's that? 11. I'm going to challenge my maths here, aren't I? 14.
Brentford.
Yeah, I think we'll beat Brentford. Leeds. Let's face it, Leeds is going to be one of those games where we could beat them 6-1, or we need to get 1 point to get into the Champions League, and we lose 1-0.
We'll be playing Thursday because we're effing shite next year. That's what
yeah, that's going to come back to bite us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking. It's not looking good for us in the season. I don't feel like we're a positive bunch in terms of that.
I think we are. I think that's quite positive. What we've been given for what we've been watching, for what we've been served up.
Yeah. So what? Where does that put us then? I think someone's put in the group chat. Where do you reckon that's going to leave us then? 6th, probably. I suspect.
A couple of people said about 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Europa League places.
It depends on all the other results, but
I mean, we're giving it that. Really, the Spurs players, United. What are United in the league? Are they? We've got to play them. They've got a game in hand on us. Let's have a look. Yeah. But United are 3 points ahead of us. So United are 3 points ahead of us with a game in hand, but we've got to play them. You know, even though Spurs are in crisis and we're in 5th. We haven't played great football all season. Players should have a bit of self-pride here and a bit of determination. Top 4 is. I know we've got some tough fixtures, but top 4 is still there for us to go and get. I just don't think we believe that the players will, have got it in them in these big games at the minute. The way we're playing to go and get them, do we?
I think we need to be, if we're going to get top 4, we have to beat Newcastle. We have to beat United.
United should be an atmosphere like Arsenal at the end of last season. It's a massive game. We need to beat them, but the way things are, the crowd just won't be up for it, will they? As they were back then. So, yeah. What's going on here?
I mean, twice. Everything crashed. Too much negativity. My computer couldn't take it.
Yeah, I think realistically, you're right. The players should be looking at.
Yeah.
They should be at the table, looking at our remaining fixtures and going, you know what? Realistically, every one of those games is a winnable game.
Yeah.
And they should be going out every single fixture, but they won't.
No.
Let's see.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. So we're predicting. I think we're going to finish 5th, maybe 4th if we can get our act together, but we don't have much confidence in that. So moving into sort of the end of the season, then looking ahead, who do you, Shivani, want to see? Who do you realistically think will be our next manager at Tottenham?
Who do you want, Shivani? Who do you want, and who do you think it will be?
Who I think it will be, knowing what our club is like, Poch. Who do I want? I couldn't even. You know what? I can't even say because I just don't think it's going to make a difference. I would like to see someone like Zidane or something come in. I wouldn't mind, but I wouldn't mind seeing company. To be fair, I wouldn't mind seeing company come in.
Yeah.
I think
I like that.
someone like young and fresh, and he's got the right idea, got the right attitude. I would like to see company come in. Actually, yeah.
Good shout.
Who would you want to see, Stevie?
I guess who I want to see and who I'm probably going to see. Different questions, aren't they? So there was a rumour, and I don't know whether the rumour spread because people heard a rumour and then said, this is a rumour. I heard from a few people that Enrique, I'm not in Glazers before Davo says, was there on Saturday. I don't know where he was, and it may explain where Levy was if he was watching a game with him. Wouldn't be a terrible shout. I've already said it down on Poch. Zebi, I don't think would come. Why would he? Brighton are probably going to get European football for their, I think, their first time ever. Some YouTube shows said that last week. I think be Brighton's first time ever in Europe. So why would he leave? Because he's going to be a hero next season regardless. I would like company. Now, that sounds a lonely thing to say, doesn't it? I want Vincent company rather than just general company. I want company. I want company. Like to me, he's a type of manager, and I'm going to get slated for this because I'm going to say a P word. He's a type of project manager, right?
Yeah.
So you have this type of project manager, and I think, and to Shivani's point, about communication is a great one. I think, and I've said it before, if a club came out, and I don't give a toss whether it's, the dinner lady, the chef in Maternal Club, who's awesome, looks a bit like Hagrid, or Daniel Levy, or who, Shivani's laughing, she knows is true. I don't care who comes out and says it, but says, right, we've got in this manager, we're going to back him with players he wants. We cannot buy 4 world-class players every single season. We're not going to buy, every single player that Twitter wants because life doesn't work like that. Life is unfair. But what we'll do, we'll buy 1 or 2 players to drop straight into the first team. So we see immediate improvement. And then with strategy, and that's a key word we're missing, maybe we'll use strategy rather than project, we will buy young players, and we're getting a bit better at that.
And improve them.
I've forgotten his name momentarily.
Spence?
No, I don't want to say Spence. Left back. Udogie.
Oh, Udogie, yeah.
Udogie in the window. Like, he looks absolutely class. Like, if you buy a few good youngsters like that and have a young, exciting manager, which company is, who seems from the outside to kind of have what Shivani was saying earlier, like with sternness in a dressing room to get the respect, but also, the new way of thinking in football of, kind of having a camaraderie of the players. So he's got the respect, but he's still a bit more of a, dare I say, a fatherly figure. I think a lot of people could get behind that because that's a clear vision from a club. We're going to spend within our means. We're going to buy a couple of good players to go into the first team and fix the immediate gaps. And then strategically, we're going to buy players. We're not going to buy Jed Spence, who then a manager, and I think Conte is wrong for this, throws under the bus and says he's basically never going to play him. I thought that was pretty poor form. We're going to buy players who the manager's going to go, you know what? You're going to see a couple of these kids in the cups. And speaking about cups, we might finish 7th or 8th next season. But in the FA Cup and League Cup, we're going to go for those. And, our ambition as a club is to win one of them in the next couple of years. And I think most people get behind that. So I want company. I do know for a fact that company was, I don't know if it still is, but was the number 1 target of certain people in the club. So I hope that comes true. That's personally who I want. Nagelsmann, I don't think we'll get either. Poch don't want. Enrique would be great. The Aussie guy can never pronounce his surname. I don't think he'd come while he leave. Yeah, that's it. Just sounds like you've got a load of bees in your mouth when you say that. Yeah, I don't think he'd leave Celtic. So,
You don't think
Yeah,
he'll leave Celtic for
yeah.
Spurs?
huh?
He doesn't leave Celtic for Spurs?
I think maybe he would next year, and I think the problem we've got at the moment is, we've got to be careful about who comes to the club. Managers who are doing well in their clubs, it's a risky sell to come to Spurs.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was just actually about to say. Don't mean to butt in or anything, but I think a lot of managers coming to Spurs right now could potentially ruin their career. It's
15 million big ones will sort that for you, Shivani, like Conte.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah, I think anyone who's going to come to our club, they need to be careful. They need to think about what they're doing because, it could literally be potentially a career-ending position for a lot of managers.
Absolutely. I can't believe that Brendan Rodgers is favourite with the book is. Cannot believe that. There is in my opinion, there is absolutely no way that he's favourite for the job. I can't believe he's favourite. There is no way that he'll get the job. I'm with Steve and Shivani. I quite like the idea of company. I think hopefully he'll improve some of the players we've got because we have got some decent players that just need more coaching. And what I really like about him is that he turned Burnley round. The style they play, Burnley are now, if Burnley came into the Premier League, they'd easily be, with what they've got now, sort of middle of the bottom half of the table, which I know isn't a great endorsement. But he's turned them round in a pre-season and this season in terms of how their style. And as I've said on here before, for me, a big thing for me with Spurs is the style of football. That is what I loved about Spurs. That's why I started supporting them, because they play good football. And that is one thing I do want to see. And I think company would strive to do that. I think most of the coaches that we talk about, a lot of them are front foot coaches that will do that. But yeah, and obviously I like the fact that he's young. I like the fact that, like Shivani said, that video when he talks to people where he's like, look, don't take my, like, how I am for me being a soft touch. That out there wasn't good enough. And that's, I want to see. And I think football is different now to how it used to be. And I do think the younger players would respect him and would look up to him. And, there's people at Spurs like Yaya Toure, who is probably looked up to by young players, who could also maybe come in on his coaching staff and help and be, and sort of like have a little bit more knowledge of what the Premier League is like now. So I think company's a good shout. My only thing with it is, and it sounds bad because he's at Burnley, he might see Burnley as a better bet for him for another season, and we can't wait that long.
There's an interesting debate going on in the chat about Rodgers and whether he's any good or not. Obviously, I live in Leicester. Got very close to a lot of Spurs, Leicester fans, and there's not one Leicester fan that has anything nice to say about Rodgers in terms of the style of football. I know from someone who's very close to the club that his temperament around the players is not the best. His man management skills are pretty bad. He's not well liked in the squad from what I've been told. There's nothing about Rodgers in my mind's eye, from what I'm hearing from Leicester fans or Liverpool fans for that matter, that makes you think that Rodgers is going to be the right choice for Leicester. So I'm
not as down on him as you were or a lot of other people, but I can't see that happening. I think that would be literally Nuno-esque again. I mean, if you'd have got him a year or so ago when they won the FA Cup, I don't think you'd have felt as bad about him joining. But him literally getting the bullet from Leicester, who were probably going to go down, and then coming to us, is a real sort of like shit state of affairs, isn't it? Feels like.
Yeah. Idea of heaven, honestly. It'll make my life immeasurably improved. Honestly, I can't wait if that happens. Just on Leicester, whilst we're there, I asked a question in our group chat one for you, Shivani, first the other day, and I tweeted it around. Would you swap our position now as Spurs for Leicester City's facing likely relegation from the Premier League, but take their Prem title and their recent FA Cup?
Nah, I wouldn't. I know, and some people might argue and say, "Oh, that's stupid. It's all about winning trophies," and it is. Of course, it is. But realistically, we should have won more trophies than we have. I mean, who sacks their manager a week before a cup final? Who does that?
Tottenham Hotspur.
Only Spurs. Only Spurs would ever do that. Only Daniel Levy would ever do something like that. Regardless, no, I wouldn't swap it. And obviously, yeah, it's great to say, okay, you've won this title and you've won this trophy, whatever. But realistically, if you look at it from the outside, who are you going to say is the better team, Spurs or Leicester? Spurs. Who's the bigger club? Spurs. We're still a bigger club. We may not have won anything in the past. I mean, what was it? 2018? No, 2008. I mean, sorry, our last trophy.
2008.
2008, the Carling Cup.
What about the Audi Cup? Do we count that the pre-season cup? We won a couple of pre-season.
We've got to boast about in the last God knows how many years. But yeah, no, I would still pick to be in our position because, as sad as it may sound, yeah, playing in the Champions League every year and maybe not winning trophies. I mean, it's not where we want to be, but it's where I'd rather be than fighting relegation and say, yeah, but we won the title 5 years ago, whatever it was. Yeah, I'd still rather be in our position, to be honest. What about you guys?
So I just wanted to. I just wanted to ask Shivani and Steve, because obviously we've not had you guys on, and we've got Steve, who obviously, Shivani, you're quite anti the board. Steve sort of like not as anti, but he just goes with it or whatever. But fucking hell, I nearly forgot what I was going to say then. But I think, and I've seen something in the chat that, yeah, it isn't great and things do need sorting. But I don't think we're that far off. I don't think it's that big a job. Like people say, it's a massive rebuild. It's massive. I don't think we're that far. I don't think we are that far off turning it round. I think I've said this before, Craig. We said it last week, didn't we? And that's why I'm putting it to these two guys now. That I think if somebody gets hold of the club, maybe Levy, or whether he puts Scott Munn in, and they say, right, we're going to turn this around now, and we get a coach in who can play progressive football and lift the mood of the fans and the club around the place, and we get rid of a couple of players and we bring 2 or 3 better players in, and we improve some of the players we've got, which we're more than capable because the squad isn't that bad. I think we can be in a good place pretty quick if somebody does that. Do you agree or disagree? Either of you? Do you think we are in a position where we can push on, and it isn't a big job? It just needs the right people.
Stevie, no, go on, Stevie. You go first.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like, we're a complete mess. We've got some awful players. We've got players who don't care. We spent the last, how long have we been on? Hour and a half basically saying what a complete shit show a club is. We're currently in 5th in the most challenging league in the world, and we have a chance, let's not put percentage on it, so again I'll get slated, but we have a chance of finishing top 4 and going into the most illustrious, most competitive club cup competition in the world. So I'm with Gibbo. I don't think we're that far off. I think the problem we've got is we have very few top-end players, a lot of average players,
who need
crap we need to get rid of. And the proof is in the pudding, right? I'm an accountant. I love my numbers. 200 million quid ish we've got out on loan. Now, our loans aren't strategic loans like Chelsea's are, because they used to buy players to block other clubs buying them, or to basically run them through the books and then hopefully sell them for profit later on. Giovanni and Chelsea, and Ndombele clearly aren't that type of player, and that's what 100 million quid sat there. So I think the problem is we've got players who are going to be very difficult to get rid of. So I agree we're not far off, but I think it will take a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get there. Because, as Caller says, it's a whole dead wood. We say it over and over, don't we? There's a lot of dead wood in the club, and to get rid of it, selling Kane, easy. Selling in Ndombele,
not easy.
Maybe we'll get 10 million from him.
So to you, Shivani, new goalkeeper, new centre-back, Bissouma comes back, a new progressive coach, Porro as a wing-back, Udogie as a left wing-back, under a good progressive coach who wants to improve players and will change games and tactics. A couple of new players brought in, a creative midfielder, like I said, a goalkeeper and a centre-back. Can we push on? Is it a massive, massive job to push on, or is it doable if the right people are installed with the right mentality and the right attitude?
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable. Of course it is. It's about having the right intentions for the club, having the right investment put in, investing in the right kind of players instead of just, look at these players we've bought in and then just loaned out that had a poor attitude or just haven't been good enough for the Premier League. We need to stop. We need to stop doing things like that. I mean, look at Lo Celso and Ndombele, like you just said. Like no one wants them. No one's gonna want those players. We don't want them. So yeah, I mean, we're not that far away from where we need to be. I mean, yeah, we say, okay, we're 5th in the league, and we're not far away from top 4. But realistically, when you look at that, that's only because everybody else has been so bad this season. Look at Chelsea. Look at Liverpool. A lot of these top teams that we would be normally competing against, they've been so poor. I mean, the fact that Arsenal are running away with the title potentially, hopefully City catch up with them, but it's only because everyone else has been so bad. So I don't think you're right in saying that when you really look at the table, are we really in that much of a crisis? Yeah, maybe not. But realistically, if everybody else was playing to their full potential right now, we'd probably be like bottom half of the table, in my opinion. But yeah, no, to answer your question, I don't think we're that far off. As long as we can invest in the right way, start scouting the right kind of players, and then obviously have a manager is when we bring in these kind of players like Spence. I mean, I felt sorry for him that the way that he got treated by Conte. I like Conte, but the way he treats certain players just because he didn't want them, but just casting them aside. He had potential. Why not give him a chance? You've got to give these players a chance. But yeah, so I think if we invest the right way and start playing these players and play the players who want to work hard and who want to actually achieve things with the club, get rid of all the crap, then yeah, I think we can actually start to achieve something.
Because I just look at Newcastle as well. Joe Linton was seen as a great big waste of money for them. They've got players like Joe Willock, no great shakes. Other players who hadn't been great for them. Eddie Howe goes in there, plays a certain system, gets one. He got Botman in, not a massive world name, renowned footballer yet. He was sought after, but he's improved. Almiron, he improved those players and how they play. Like, even though they've got lots of money, but the whole place had a feel good around it, and he improved players. Bought a couple of players. We are wow. Just for me, that is well within our grasp of doing that. That is an achievable thing, and the board should be looking at that, and that's what they should be aiming to do. And so it does come down to the board, but that's how I see it. But obviously, as always, somebody in this club needs to grab the ball by the horns and say, this is what we're going to do. This has been going on for too long now. It's time to push on. Is that going to happen? But that's how I can see. I think it's achievable. Do you agree, Craig?
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think you're spot on, as you often are. Looking ahead then we'll be going for an hour 30. We're almost at a football match length, or just over a football match length. Where do we got Friday night, we've got our Bournemouth prediction show. So make sure you tune in for that. Just quickly to touch on that as a final point before we wrap up. What's your very quick predictions for the Bournemouth game? So I'll start with the hit of the night, Shivani. How do you see the Bournemouth? What's your score prediction?
I am going to go 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Gibbo?
Optimistic thing I've said all evening.
Brilliant. Love it. I think I'm going for 3-1 Spurs. How's that, Craig? That is optimistic from me. That is positive, isn't it?
With an assist?
I reckon he might score, mate. I think he might score and take himself to be the highest scoring central midfielder at the club. And then at some point, Caller will have to turn around and admit I was right, that Hojbjerg will play more games than any other central midfielder, score more goals than any other central midfielder, and assist more goals than any other central midfielder. And I think I've got 2 out of 3 at the minute of those.
Absolutely.
So
and you know, Gibbo is not alone in the Hojbjerg Appreciation Fan Club. I'm an early what's the word, member of the club. I think we're the founding members, Gibbo, actually, you and I, and still the only member.
Really members.
But I
get a lot of stick for this. But
I'm with you though. Hojbjerg.
I think Hojbjerg is, to clarify my position, he's not a brilliant player. He's a good player. And everyone was saying he's rubbish. He's not rubbish. No. He's a good player. But what he does also need, he could do with a break now and then. The bloke literally plays every minute of every game. And it's no surprise that when he has to come out of a game and he has a bit of a break and he comes back in, he looks better. Yeah. I mean, he's just ran into the ground, but he's a good player. Nothing more, nothing less. But better than a lot of people make out he is.
Yeah, but I also think, when he's not in the team, we miss him.
Yeah, we miss his pointing, obviously.
Yeah, his flappy hands. You miss.
No,
but I think to be fair to Hojbjerg, he has done well with assists as you predicted. He's done well with goals. But that assist to Kane, by the way, last week was brilliant. To have the composure to put the ball where he did from that position, brilliant. I mean, can't take away Kane creating the space in the way that he did, but to find him is, there's not many players in our team at this moment in time that would have had that composure in that position. So, yeah, he needs a bit of love.
Good player, mate.
Very good. A very good player. Like I say, I said it right at the beginning of the season. I said it last season. I think he's quality. So I'm with that. We're in that 2-man fan club. Stevie, how do you see the goal? What do you see the score?
Well, if you asked me my prediction, I was going to go probably ham hock Scotch egg. And the Tunnel Club Chicken Kiev looks pretty good.
Is that the menu this week? Yeah.
That's the menu this week.
What's the lunchtime? What's the halftime snack?
Well, I don't know, actually. Halftime snack, pork belly bao bun, Korean fried cauliflower bao bun, and a chocolate brownie.
Nice. Are you going to partake in the cheese and biscuits after the game?
Depends how full I am.
Okay. Tipple of choice this week?
Also depends my level of smashedness. If I'm a bit too smashed, then I need a cheese to kind of...
Yeah, I mean...
wash down with a pint of skull. Hey, Steve.
I mean, I saw, those the 122 people listening, I saw Steve at the game on Saturday, and he was a shambles. The state he was in, honestly, he couldn't count to 5. He was in a right state.
I was quadruple parked for most of it. Even when I didn't ask for booze, I came back with booze. But I kind of say it in jest, but and I don't want to be a bloody corporate, but football's so dull and bloody incidental at the moment, isn't it? Like, it's just, I can't, and I hate myself for saying this, I can't get excited to go to Spurs anymore.
It's the radio head of football, isn't it? Spurs are.
It's just depressing.
Radio head.
It grinds me down. Like, I love a club, absolutely love a club. Like, I bleed blue. Like, I love a lot of them. But that's probably why it's so depressing. But I think in a less depressing way, I do think we'll win this weekend.
Full house.
I think we'll start off nervy. And I think it will start off, I hate a bloody toxic term, but I think it will start off a bit toxic and nervy. And I think we'll fluke a goal. And I think we'll win 3-1 overall.
Yeah, good.
But I think most of the goals, if not all, will be second half. I think it'll be a pretty bad first half.
One shit half, one good half, Steve.
Yeah, no, I think for what it's worth, we'll win as well. I just want to make a special mention as well to those regular listeners of the Cheese Room will know Cam from Oz. He was over in the UK these last week or two, and he made his debut appearance at the new stadium this weekend. And Stevie and I had the pleasure of joining for a drink. And, we joke that Stevie was a mess. Well, Cam was a hot, sweaty mess, not through drink, but for pure excitement. It was great to be at the game with him this week just gone. And just a special shout out. It was really nice to see someone excited to be at the game, actually, because I think Steve and I weren't.
It's a great point, isn't it?
We're seeing Cam.
We get used to going to Spurs, and like we're lucky with season tickets. We get to go, lucky or unlucky, call it what you want. But so many people are listening, so many people around the world, and in the UK, you either can't afford it, can't get time off work, or can't get to the ground, or can't get tickets. Don't get the opportunity. And genuinely, Cam, I saw Cam a couple of days before, and he wasn't on drugs, to be very clear to his employer and loved ones, but it was like he was on drugs. He was gearing up for the game, and he was so into it. And it's lovely to see that enthusiasm. Whereas us boring fucks are just like, we don't want to go anymore. I'll go give him a Scotch egg and then leave after that. I
mean, Davo would have been appalled because Cam's excitement for the club shop was uncontainable. I think it was. And to be fair, it's an impressive bit of property, isn't it? It's an impressive building.
It's part of the problem.
Okay, excellent. Well, hour 41. It's been a great show. Thank you for the 130 people at our peak that was watching tonight. I hope you all do like and subscribe. It makes a massive difference to the channel. Shivani, how did you find your debut tonight? I thought it was a very strong debut performance, may I say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I actually really enjoyed it. It was really good. So thank you guys for having me, and I'll be happy to come back and do another one sometime soon.
Yes, please.
You will definitely be back if you want to come back. So it's the love for you in the chat has been consistent. I never got that love when I first made my debut, to be fair. Well done. Stevie, thanks for coming on. Good night, good show, enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you, mate. It's like I said, it's been a pretty crappy week, long hours of work, but nice to, I don't know if this is relaxing talking about Spurs or not, but at least talking about something we love. It's been good fun.
Yeah, good. And co-host Gibbo, good night. Thank you very much. Enjoy that.
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed myself tonight, Craig. Different guests, good enjoyable chat, great comments. Yeah, been a good evening.
What's not to love?
Exactly. What's not to love? Wednesday night rambles with myself and Gibbo and guests. It's always fun. So tune in next Friday night, next show. I'm not sure who is on. I'm sure Caller will be back on in the host chairs. Watch that. And Gibbo and I will be back next Wednesday. Excellent. Thanks very much. Have a good week, everyone, and see you soon. Finally, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.